Welcome to the Warsquared Fantasy Football Podcast, a full-service year-round podcast with weekly episodes to provide fans with info on their teams and players. Whether you're a newbie or a longtime veteran of the fantasy wars, Warsquared is the podcast for you. Welcome in, everybody. The Combine officially started today. We do have a defensive end from Pittsburgh who has eclipsed the 40 time for Aaron Donald. So he is actually heavier than Aaron Donald was and ran a faster 40.
So were they running downhill?
How fast was it?
4, 6, 7.
Sorry, quarterbacks.
That's picking him up, putting him down. That quarterback. I mean, if you're Matt Ryan, you just became on the extinct list.
And as I was coming in, I was listening. They had a linebacker that ran a 4.44, and he was upset because in practice he's been running in the 4.3s.
That's still.
Damn it.
They just get bigger, faster, stronger, don't they?
Was that extra cheeseburger he had last night?
Really was. Really tied him down there. So we'll jump right in with news. Daron Payne is the first to receive the franchise tag. He has been tagged the defensive tackle for the Commodes. Dan Snyder,
Your favorite man.
is in hot water with Virginia federal prosecutors. He got a $55 million personal loan / line of credit that he used as a personal piggy bank, and I'm doing air quotes on video. And he is the primary focus of attention right now. Now, usually for NFL owners to do this, they have to get league approval. He did not.
Are you shocked?
I am not shocked. And so there's going to be, however, he did advise, I guess, at least Roger Goodell and some other owners that he was doing it.
Goodell's going to cover up and say, yeah, I gave him permission.
So now there's a question of what they're going to do. How liable is the NFL?
Well, the other issue is the fact being he had to have received a vote from the other minorities members in order to be able to take out that line of credit, and he did not.
Right, because it was during the portion of when he was trying to acquire
Their minority shares.
the minority shares, right?
And so there's going to be other issues associated with that from this article that I read, that Dan is basically, he's going to have to sell and walk away and hope nothing else happens to him. Of course, we know Bezos will not be buying them directly because he will not sell to Bezos.
Right. The Dan has come out and said he will not sell to Bezos because he hates the Washington Post because they've attacked him so many times, which he feels attacked, although it's really more of a pointing out what a crappy owner / person he is.
Mm-hmm. In other news, your Commodes released a few players.
Yeah, so we released Carson Wentz.
That saved you $26.4 million against the cap.
Right, and Bobby McCain.
That was like $1.05.
It was not very much. We'll actually take a bigger cap hit, a penalty, than we are a savings. But
Carson Wentz will be Patrick Mahomes' backup quarterback next year.
that's entirely possible.
Chatting 2.0.
In other releasings, we have the Falcons releasing Marcus Mariota, which cleared up more money for the Falcons, just in my mind solidifying they're going after Lamar.
If they don't trade for Lamar Jackson, something is horribly wrong in Atlanta.
They're also
Sherman's marching someplace.
over the weekend. Somebody grabbed a screenshot of a Lamar Jackson Atlanta Falcons jersey. So it was like somebody's jersey, a Lamar jersey, and on sale a Calvin Ridley jersey. Off NFLshop.com, and it was not a number 8. It was a number 1, but
the NFL scripted. We know that. So
yeah. The Tampa Bay Bucks are going to release Leonard Fournette, and also announced today they're going to release Cameron Brate, tight end. So those two moves together, I think, are clearing up about $15 million in cap space.
I mean, they've got to release him. He's playoff Lenny, and they are not going to sniff the playoffs for
not even close.
Probably a half a decade at the rate they're going.
probably 2 to 5. Yeah.
2 to 5.
2 to 5. Yeah. They're penalized.
Good behavior in there.
They're being penalized for the salary cap hell that Tommy put him in.
Well, and they want to take all of that hit this year, 35.1. They want to try to absorb all of that this year.
So they're going to take all the money this year and just go flush it, call it good, get the first pick in the draft for next year and see what happens.
Now, they haven't put these moves in overthecap.com yet, which is what we love. And before they actually make these moves, the Buccaneers are $59.726 million over the cap.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, even...
They're a quarter of a team over the cap.
Yes. And 35 mil of that is Tommy B.
Right.
So they're going to take all the cap this year. Their roster's going to be, you're going to have 3 players, each one making $20 million. They're going to have 50 people on veteran minimum or rookie minimum contracts.
It's really good news for all those guys playing in the XFL right now. There's some opportunity.
Well, and third and fourth rounders.
AJ McCarron's going to be the starting quarterback in Tampa Bay this year.
No, it's going to be Kyle Trask.
More than likely,
he's the only quarterback they have currently under contract.
AJ McCarron will be the backup.
They don't even have Blaine Gabbert. The Giants are going to release Kenny Golladay.
Duh.
This is Doc's surprise face. This is something actually I'm shocked they didn't do during the season. Just go ahead and take it last year and bite the bullet on last year's cap. John Johnson's going to be released by the Browns. Now remember, he was a big signing from the Rams before the Rams Super Bowl.
2 years ago.
And he's a good player. It's just the Browns are so far over the cap. The Browns are
14.
13.4 million over the cap. So they've got to do the same thing. They've got to restructure players and cut players to get down.
Oh, they will. They can restructure so many of those contracts. And then, like we determined last year and the year before, that salary cap is an illusion in most cases.
Right. Well,
they can get there, just a matter of what kind of magic they pull off to get there.
Speaking of that, we talked about it a little bit, I think, before show, but the Jaguars are going to tag Evan Ingram.
Mm-hmm.
And the Jaguars this week did a ton of restructures, and now they have 13 million in cap space, whereas this time last week, they were like 20 million over the cap. 23 million over the cap.
This time last week, they were 32 million over the cap.
Okay. So now they're 13 million under the cap. They're going to they'll tag Evan Ingram, which right now the tight end tag's 11.3.
That'll put him 2 under.
So they'll be fine. They'll probably have to restructure somebody to get the ability to sign draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
But they'll get there. It won't be a big deal. There'll probably be some other players that they sign in free agency, although they have 59 players under contract right now.
They're going to be cutting some players, they're going to use the kick it down the road for the next 6 or 7 years with Trevor growing up.
Sure.
But they got 3 more years of relatively good salary cap numbers with Trevor, so they can afford to do some of this stuff and get it straightened out before that happens.
Yep. So we have the Packers GM Brian Gutekunst.
That was easy for you to say.
It was. I had to remember what it was. I was thinking I would have the K in different spots.
I would have went with Packers GM said.
He was non-committal on a QB for 2023.
He'll be in. Their quarterback's going to be Jordan Love, and Mr. Rogers is probably going to end up in the New York neighborhood.
So one of the things that I find extremely interesting about it is how much they're talking about he'll run the offense that we have, not the Aaron Rodgers offense, which is when I touch my elbow, that means you do this. Remember, because 3 years ago we did this.
Yeah. And the other thing we're going to find out is, A-Rod said he would have his decision made. If I remember correctly, he said it before the combine, didn't he? At the end of the season, he said, I'm going to take a couple of weeks off, go on this thing.
I think he
I'm
might have said before free agency. I don't think he said before the combine.
He said before the combine, before the league season starts, which is typically the combine is the unofficial start of the league season.
Yeah, we're really the end of next weekend, I think, is the...
Mm-hmm. Something like the 13th is the beginning,
something
13th,
like
16th, something like that. It's interesting because, A-Rod emerged from his cocoon about a week ago, and we haven't heard anything from him. But he hasn't made up while he was there.
He only emerged... Wednesday was his first day out of darkness.
Yeah, the only comment I've heard and seen from him was he was attributed as saying that he'll have his decisions, quote unquote, soon enough.
Right.
For him, but
Yeah.
I mean, at this point in time, if you're the Packers GM, you have to have a contingency plan in place if he decides he wants to play but not play for you. No matter what, you have a contingency plan in place to getting him the hell out of away from your team because he's nothing but a cancer.
Yeah, they've got to move on. Plus, they've got to see what they have in Jordan Love so they know whether or not they need to exercise that 5th-year option.
They're going to exercise the 5th-year option just because they're going to have to. They can't be caught without somebody there. They're going to exercise the 5th-year option and play him on that if they have to next year if A-Rod comes back and refuses to be traded.
Yeah, I don't see how they keep him on this team.
Would you draft A-Rod as a fantasy football player next year?
Depending on where I could get him, yes.
8th round on.
No, not 8th round. 10th round on, maybe 12th round on, yes.
Tobin.
I mean,
he would not be my starter. He'd be my backup.
Depends on when the draft is and if I figure out where he's landing.
Okay.
As it sits right now, no.
You own him in the Dynasty League, correct?
No, Billy owns him.
Billy owns him. What do you think Billy would trade for him now? A 5th round draft pick for him? Think he'd take a 5th for him?
Maybe.
No.
He might take anything at this point.
In the Dynasty, I'll bet you're going to have to go to at least a 3rd. I mean, we're only draft 5 rounds.
Yeah, but we carry over 20 players. So going to be interesting.
I mean,
I would not touch if I was an NFL GM, I would not touch Aaron Rodgers with a 10-foot pole.
Right.
If I'm the Packers, somebody comes up and gives me a 1st for him.
I couldn't get rid of him fast enough. I don't think he'll go for more than a 4th. I can't see why you give more than a 4th.
Woody Johnson is still all in and says it's good. And the Packers said it's going to take at least a 1st, probably more to get him. Good luck. Good things you get him. Woody Johnson's going to pay it. That's why he's going to be a Jet. Speaking of quarterbacks, who did Derek Carr meet with today?
Was it Panthers today?
The Panthers?
He is met with the Saints and the Panthers, and who's the other team? The Jets.
The Jets, and he's also meeting with
the Colts.
The Colts.
Yeah. All the GMs are in one spot. Great place to go as a free agent.
For him, it was a great thing for him to be able to go to those 3 different, go there and meet, have breakfast, lunch, and supper paid for by a team as they meet and talk about paying him roughly $36 million a year. Pretty good, pretty good idea, wasn't it?
Sure, absolutely. You can go to St. Elmo's. You can get steaks. You can do whatever you want to do. Yeah. Shrimp cocktail. Everything will be great.
And
one other piece of news that I found really interesting that came out over the weekend: Duke Tobin of the Bengals is non-committal on Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon's gone, folks.
Yikes!
Too expensive, too injury prone.
$9.4 million is what they would save if they cut Joe Mixon this year.
Too much for a running back.
That lets them re-sign T. Higgins.
That's what he said.
Well, they have more than enough cap room to re-sign T. Higgins.
Yeah, but not with headroom for what else they need.
Joe Burrow is going to get re-upped.
Right.
Higgins is going to get re-upped.
They're going to have to
do. Ryan's going to get re-upped.
Right. This year is Higgins and Burrow. Next year is Chase.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I mean, running back years are like dog years, guys. I mean,
they are. I mean,
he's fragile when he got in the league.
I mean, running backs have been running backs since they were in Pee Wee getting hit. That's why a free agent running back in some instances is better than a first round running back, because they're typically maybe not as talented, but the drop off isn't near as much as what it is from an offensive lineman, a left tackle.
Oh, for sure.
And because of those guys have been the best athlete their whole life, they've taken a beating their whole life. High school, Pee Wee, college, NFL. That's why having backs that play 8 to 10 years are just absolutely amazing in the NFL these days.
Collisions have consequences.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, I'm just amazed that quickly it came out. We're non-committal on it.
Oh, we predicted that. You and I both predicted he was going to be gone back in early February.
Well, that he was a
cut target.
Yeah, I mean, but the other thing they said about T. Higgins on trading for him, that's one of the things that's been a very popular source of conversation is trading for T. Higgins because they can't afford him. Well, that's what the GM's saying. He's like, go find your own wide receiver. Don't come trying to get ours because we're not giving this guy up.
Well, it's a wide receiver league, especially when you have a quarterback like Joe Burrow.
Yeah, and especially when you can pair him with Chase on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the part of that is they could re-sign Samaje Perine at a fraction, half or less of the cost that Joe Mixon is going to be.
$4.5 million.
to, I think, a point that Doc had during the season, Samaje Perine almost as productive as Joe Mixon.
He was actually more productive rushing the ball this year than he was for Mixon.
Well, and you figure that $9.4 million that they save, I mean, that's literally $500,000 a game savings for them. For a guy that, how many games is he going to miss at $500,000 a rack?
5.
Right.
So there's $2.5 million you just burned if you roll a dice on him, and he has his average year. So yeah, I get it.
Oh, I would have written him off at the beginning. When I went through and I started doing cuts for the Bengals, he was the first one.
Interesting.
Because you can replace him with Perine for 4.5, maybe even 3.5.
Well, and you can go take the Chiefs model and go find a running back in the 5th, 6th, 7th round that's going to be serviceable. That, you know, you don't have to.
You can have 2 or 3 of them at that point in time.
Right. Throw it to the wall. One of them's going to stick.
More importantly, is cheaper and has less mileage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look how many guys are out there in the league. Yeah, I mean, you can go out and sign or trade for a backup running back
Easily.
So, I mean, it's not like they're
not difficult to find, folks.
I mean, how many does Buffalo have that are going to be out on the scrap heap?
2 to 3.
You know, I mean, all those guys are going to be available. Speaking of Buffalo, Leslie Frazier stepping away, the defensive coordinator. This does not sound good to me. This sounds like something else is wrong, not just a I need a break type situation.
Yeah, I mean, being an NFL coach has got to be hard on you unless you're as successful as Andy Reid is. And, you know, can you imagine being a defensive coordinator on a team in Buffalo who gets all the highlight and you get nothing but crap because the offense is that good? We lost the game because the defense couldn't stop them. The score was 14-13.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing is I can't imagine living in Buffalo year round, especially from November to March.
That's got to be purgatory.
When there could be, you know, randomly 3 feet of snow show up.
Have you seen the snow that fell in Northern California?
2 to 3 feet a day.
Yeah. They've got one place I saw on Facebook. They've been opening the screen up and taking pictures every 2 or 3 hours. And it went from a little bit to half to 3/4 to above. Now they've burrowed out through, and now they're showing the house being covered other than just the chimney, which is 5 feet above the house.
Wow.
And they're supposed to get more snow tonight.
Yep.
They said they've gotten 500 inches of snow in the Lake Tahoe area this year.
Oh my goodness.
They might not have to close the mountain
That is
for
crazy.
a whole year. They might just ski all summer.
Yeah, the ski resorts are closed because they can't groom that amount of snow.
Right.
Oops. Can you imagine being a ski resort and you're closed because there's too much snow?
Because of snow.
Close. So, yeah.
Oops.
So we'll jump in here too. I kind of put together a list of what I think are the top 25 NFL free agents. This is fairly comparable to a bunch of the other lists that are out there.
Pretty good list you put together. Where'd you copy and paste from?
Actually, I took it from 3 different sites.
You're the man.
Yeah.
I don't see any footnotes here, though.
No, I just thought we'd kind of go through it real quick and say, you know,
we are horrible. This man, he works his butt off on this thing, and we're horrible to him.
Citations, Tom. I don't see you citing your work here.
Yeah. I did not cite who I got
your
these from.
sources. Come on.
Right. Lamar Jackson obviously is the top of the list. Some other lists have other players at number 2, but I put Javon Hargrave here. He was great for the Eagles, and it's at a key spot.
At a key spot that he can go to a team and change their defensive front easily.
Right. I had Daron Payne at 3. I mean, he still could be on this list because if somebody wants to part with
2 first,
you know, I mean, I think if somebody wants to part with a first and a second or a first and a third, we'll pull the trigger on a deal.
Yeah, but nobody's going to do that because the cost is too high.
Yeah, it's just too much.
The financial cost, not necessarily the draft cap, but the financial cost of having him on your team is going to be
the cumulative impact. I mean, the cap hit plus the draft capital, it's just way too much.
He's going to be a commode for the next 5 years.
Yeah, I mean that it could be, you know, some of these people with multiple picks. You know, you pick at your first round spot, maybe you trade back and pick up some more stuff. You know, a la Houston or a Detroit or a Seattle. And then you're talking a late teens, early 20s pick and something else. I mean, even for the Commodes, we need more talent.
Okay. Let's play devil's advocate. You're the GM of the Lions. You're going to trade your second pick back. You're going to pick up the 22nd pick from whoever has it.
Okay.
Okay. You know that's going to cost you your salary cap hit for Daron Payne is going to be about $20 million a year.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. So you're going to trade the 22nd pick and the first pick that you have in the second round, which would be the 6th pick, something like that from the Rams.
Lion.
The Rams.
Do they have that pick still?
I think they still have that pick.
Okay.
I'm not 100%, but we'll just assume that they do.
Okay.
Well, you trade those 2 picks for Daron Payne and take that salary cap hit of $20 million over the next 4 years.
If I'm the Lions, if they think that he fits their culture, yeah.
Okay, you're the GM of the Lions. What would you do?
I would say that he fits their culture. I'd do it.
Okay, Tobin?
No, too expensive. I mean, they're building this thing, and the way they've built that offense and that offensive line, they can do it over these next 2 drafts with all the capital they've got and build that defense to make it. I mean, they don't even have to be top 10.
No.
If they're just middle of the pack, they're a playoff team.
If they're 13 through 17, they're a playoff team. If they're 13 through 20, they're a playoff team. So
you had Michael Brockers, who they cut.
Mm-hmm. Too much money.
Because he was $10 million and not enough production. If you put Daron Payne in there, twice as much salary, but twice or 3 times as much production as Michael Brockers, that's not worth a first and a second.
I wouldn't do it. I think it's too high of a price.
Okay, I don't have a problem with the first and the second. What I have a problem with is the $20 million over the next 5 years. That's what I have a problem with.
Well, I mean, and it could be a 3-year or a 4-year. I mean,
but then you got to re-up him at that point in time or lose it.
Well, 3 or 4 years, you move on.
No, but then
you've either improved or not.
I can take my first round draft pick. Let's say it's the 22nd again, and let's go all the way back and say that Kalani Casey from Pittsburgh falls back that far. You got him ranked as the 20th best one. He's a defensive tackle.
That's the guy who outran Aaron Donald today. Yeah. He's not going to be there. He's not going to be there in the 20s.
He's not going to be there. But let's say that he is.
But at the same point,
you have him for 5 years on a minimum contract, not costing you 20, and you still have the second round draft pick.
Or do you take 22 and 6 and package those up and go to 10 and get the guy you really want?
Which is Casey.
Which is possible.
Which is going to give you the
and you've got 5 years at a cheap price.
Yeah, at some point in time, these salaries are going to.
Yeah, guys are pricing themselves out of the market.
They've got to go from here to here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like the U.S. government. They figure 5% inflation for the United States government rather than 1% increase every year. Some point in time, that increase has got to come back to reality.
No, just fire up the money printer. I mean, that's what we do.
That is true.
I keep looking for those on Amazon, by the way, and I still haven't found
when
one.
you find one, let me know, will you?
Oh, I'm ordering them all.
See how you are.
How many can I get?
You got a quarter of the market, are you?
I mean.
Okay, so let's go back to this list. The next on the list
number 4, Orlando Brown, offensive tackle.
Okay, Tobin, he's your guy. Sign him or not sign him?
Oh, they're going to tag him.
Again,
they're going to tag him. I'd sign him. I'd write whatever check. I mean, when you look at him and his stats versus Trent Williams, who's the gold standard,
he's the god right now,
left tackle. It's 1 and maybe 1B, not 1A. When you go to Orlando Brown,
yeah, but you're 10 years
but he's
younger.
26 years old and only getting better. He's only played left tackle 2.5 seasons.
Right,
but his long-term place is not left tackle. It's going to be right tackle.
I don't know. He's developing. I mean, look, how many pressures did he give up in that Super Bowl?
How many did he give up the first 9 games of the season?
Yeah, but when it counted, how many did he give up?
Yeah, I kind of agree.
How do you like bagels?
I mean, that's
the other key thing that we have to keep in mind here with the Chiefs is what they reported today is that they are negotiating with Frank Clark and Chris Jones about lowering their cap numbers because currently their cap numbers are each in excess of $20 million, which is more than Pat's. So
Clark is going to renegotiate and say, yes, sir, may I have another, please? Otherwise, he's going to get cut and be gone.
Well, I mean, he'll play somewhere, but
he's going to be gone from the Chiefs. He doesn't want to be gone from the Chiefs because he wants another ring.
I can't say that I blame him.
Neither can I.
Yeah, I think you'll see both of those guys work out in an extension, defer some money, keep the gang together, and try to run it back.
Yeah,
but as far as Orlando Brown, if you're the Chiefs, there's not. I mean, They
have no choice
explored Trent Williams
Yeah,
before they went for Orlando Brown and
they
couldn't get it.
They
Make it
have
happen.
no choice but to go with Orlando Brown.
I mean, there's
you're
nobody out there right now.
if you're say you're the Commodores need a left tackle, don't they? Would you
Yes.
spend the money for him? He's going to want 20.
I mean, they're going to have to spend the money and give up the picks. That's the problem they're going to run into because they're going to franchise him. There's no way around it.
Well, they might not franchise him only because it's a 20% increase.
They're going to franchise him.
They
Mark
can
my
afford
words.
to.
Unless they can get a 5-year deal done, they're going to franchise him.
Okay.
Okay, number 5 on the list.
Derek Carr.
Really?
A little bit higher than what I thought
Really?
he'd be, but that's about where he needs to be at because quarterback controls the league.
It's
Yeah.
it's a
And he's
quarterback
he's
league.
He's a top 12 quarterback in the NFL.
You got to have a trigger man.
I have less heartburn about number 5 than I do number 9. I will admit that.
Yeah. So funny
Number
enough,
9 is Daniel Jones, by the way,
number 6 is Geno Smith.
who's going to get a 3-year deal worth about $90 million guaranteed.
Talk about playing your way to a lottery ticket in one season.
Well,
Holy crap.
they say that Pete Carroll said he knew what he had and he was going to keep him. One of the articles I read today about Russell Wilson, I read this morning. Last year, he was basically doing everything he could to undercut the coach and the offensive coordinator. He was designing plays on his own, had his own office, had his own everything there. I mean, Denver's basically been over and said, what can we do to help you? And screwed the coach, screwed the offensive coordinator, did everything they could to put him in power. Sean Payton slowed that stuff down in a hurry, didn't he?
Oh yeah. Well, it's Sean Payton.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Drew Brees went from a good NFL quarterback to a Hall of Famer in New Orleans. I mean, with arguably not that great an arm.
Oh, he had at best an average plus arm. At best an average plus
He
arm.
was a poor man's Peyton Manning. Not huge arm, but he just read it, got it out.
I think Drew Brees' red defense is better than Peyton Manning did.
He had to. I mean,
He didn't have the physical gifts that Peyton Manning's got.
He's a slow midget.
Yeah. He's a midget in the NFL. He's not a midget in real life.
Yeah. I
He was
mean, by
5'11".
quarterback standards, he's a midget. And I mean, he just his brain game was so elevated. That was what got him in the Hall of Fame.
Okay. Number 7 on the list, Mike McGlinchey.
Mike McGlinchey, right tackle for the 49ers.
49ers.
Again, this is a 49ers can't afford him. It's if we're going to hope that we can get this guy on a team-friendly deal. If not, he's going to blow the market away. Jameel Dean, cornerback for the Buccaneers. Got to have cornerbacks, and the Bucs
gonna
can't
have him.
afford anybody.
He's gone.
Rumor has him going to New England.
If New England is ever interested in your defensive players, they're good.
Mm-hmm. This just in.
Yeah.
Just not wide receivers.
Right. Not anybody except for offensive linemen.
If they want your wide
Or
receivers,
Randy Moss.
let him go.
Mm-hmm.
Number 9 is Danny Dimes or Danny Nichols.
Or D-bag, as you call him.
I so badly want him to go to any team other than the Giants because as soon as he does, he is going to crash and burn
He's
spectacularly.
going to get 40 to 45 million years what he's looking for.
He's an idiot if he thinks he's going to get that on the market.
The idiot's going to be the person that pays it to him because somebody's going to.
God, I hope it's the Cowboys.
God, I hope it's the Indianapolis Colts.
It's definitely not going to be the Colts. They are almost dead set on drafting. Number 10, Jesse Bates. He's the safety for the Bengals.
Mm-hmm.
This guy is a stud.
He's a major stud. And the Bengals want to keep him. It's just can they afford him, Burrow, and Higgins all at the same time?
Unlikely.
Which is why Mixon is gone.
Maybe they can. Maybe with the safety tag because the safety tag
is about 11 to 12, I think. I think it's 14.
It's on the sheet here. It is 14.46. Woo, that's a lot.
So they cut,
And they've
they
already
cut
tagged
Mixon.
him once.
They cut Mixon. They put him in. That's going to cost them 16 million, 16.6 or something
Yeah,
like that.
they're not going to be able to re-sign him. He's going to sign somewhere else.
They're going to franchise him. In
Number 11, James Bradbury, cornerback, formerly of the Eagles and formerly of the
that was the hold.
yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Formerly of the
Got to know when to hold him.
He didn't.
well, he did because if he wouldn't have held him, it was a touchdown.
Yep. No, what they should have done was called a hold on the left tackle at the same time, but they didn't.
They never do those things. Number 12, Josh Jacobs.
Dude, you're going to get about $6 to $7 million a year, maybe $8.5 if you're lucky.
Josh Jacobs.
Take the Raiders' money and stay home.
I think Josh Jacobs is going to get tagged by the Raiders, especially since they cut Carr. They've got like $39 million.
Yeah.
Jimmy G at 13. I partially put him here because I have a little bit of triskaidekaphobia. And
Can you spell that?
TRISKADEPHOBIA.
He's probably right. You know? He is rumored to get somewhere between 27 and 33 million a year, according to what one place I looked at for average was what they predict salary cap to be.
One of the things that I read is that they think that Ryan Tannehill may end up in New Orleans and Jimmy G will end up in Tennessee.
Oh God, please no. Please no, Jimmy G. I like you, but please no.
That would be awesome.
Tannehill gonna end up in, because they came out yesterday, Tennessee did, and said that Tannehill's our starting quarterback until otherwise noticed.
Yep.
And then they came out today and said that they love the fact Malik Willis is maturing and doing everything in camp they want him to be able to do in a game. Not in camp, but in their off-season workouts with.
Awesome. Maybe he's turning the corner. I mean, remember, they didn't play Steve McNair this first season. They played Chris Chandler.
The only problem he had this year was throw the damn ball. Just throw the. You can see Vrabel on the sidelines just get ready to yank his hair out. Just throw the damn ball.
Right. Number 14, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, safety of the Eagles, who was traded from the Saints. Why the Eagles have the 10th pick. Saquon Barkley at number 15.
Way too low on this list.
I think that's about right because the last 8 to 9 games of the season for him were not very good.
Well, I mean, the league keyed on him. He was the only damn thing in that uniform.
I don't disagree.
I mean, if he went to the bathroom, there were 11 guys following him the whole back half of the season.
What flavor was it?
Make sure he washed his hands.
Right.
Yeah. So again, it's that running back position. I just don't see somebody really breaking the bank for Saquon.
If you're going to break the bank, you're going to break it for Pollard. You're not going to break it for Saquon.
Well, Jawan Taylor is the next guy here. He's another offensive tackle
for the
Jaguars. So
he's a right tackle.
But again, not a lot of tackles on the market.
No, he's predicted to get somewhere between $13 and $17 million a year average contract for a 5-year contract. The reason why I know that, Tennessee's predicted to go after him.
Well, they need to get somebody because
we got a young right tackle, but they want to move him into guard if they can, and then draft a left tackle this year supposedly. We'll see.
Number 17, I put Tony Pollard here because I am 100% sure the Cowboys are franchise tagging him.
There's no doubt they're going to franchise tag him, and supposedly Zeke's going to sign a team-friendly deal.
Yes, Zeke is is willing to rework his deal, and we talked about this on last show that Jarrett, of course, has buyer's remorse on letting Emmett walk.
Mm-hmm. He's going to get a veteran minimum with huge incentives built into the contract.
Number 18, Dalton Schultz.
He gone.
This guy's going to be in Los Angeles getting passes from Justin Herbert with Kellen Moore.
More than likely, yes.
I just see that one. That's like a slam dunk. Dalvin Tomlinson, another defensive tackle. Levante David, late of the Bucks. Jacoby Myers. This is the test case for wide receivers this year. He is the best wide receiver available, and they think it'll be like Christian Kirk's contract last year that it'll set.
That blew the market up.
Blew the market up.
Literally blew the market up.
Yeah. Marcus Davenport, a DN. Draymond Jones, another defensive lineman. Combo DN, D tackle. I put Juju Smith-Schuster at wide receiver here. I think somebody gets him to be their slot / number 2. I don't know who that's going to be.
Ravens.
Poor guy. That's the death of a career. Wide receiver going to the Ravens.
Pretty much, yeah. He fits the Raven mold. He looks like a Ravens wide receiver.
They would have seen a lot of him from when he was in Pittsburgh. I could see if Lamar goes to Atlanta, excuse me, where Atlanta has, I think, $60 million in cap space. Half of that will go to Lamar, and they've already got Drake London. They've already got Kyle Pitts. They've already got Tyler Algier. They've got all these skill positions. To have a veteran like Juju there could really help them.
Mm-hmm.
And the last guy I've got on here is Zach Allen, who's another defensive lineman. Some of the names that aren't on here: Jonathan Jones, cornerback for the Patriots; Fletcher Cox, who's ancient; Baker Mayfield; Marcus Peters, cornerback late of the Ravens. Brandon Graham. I mean, stop me if you think I'm crazy on this, but Frank Clark doesn't accept the deal. Brandon Graham, although he's in his mid to late 30s,
He'll take the veteran minimum.
he'll take money to come play with Andy Reid again, because he came over to Andy Reid after the game was over and congratulated him because he drafted him in Philly.
I want one of these.
He's no dummy. I'd like one of those rings, sir. Another one.
Yep.
Alan Lazard, Evan Ingram, which we talked about earlier, he's going to get tagged. Jordan Poyer, safety from the Bills. Mike Gesicki is a free agent for the Dolphins. There's another tight end target out there. Probably another good option for the Chargers because he is a much better receiver than he is a blocker. McCole Hardman is out there. Miles Sanders is your running back that's out there for dirt cheap. Dalton Reisner, a great guard when he's healthy.
Is a name to watch for teams that need interior offensive linemen, because he can come in and stabilize that position and fill that hole hugely for you.
And then
of K-State.
The biggest name, Odell Beckham Jr.
Who cares?
I'm telling you, a lot of people don't care, but there are going to be a lot of people that are going to want to talk to him.
There's going to be a lot of people going, thank God we didn't sign him because he's going to cost us too much money and he's not going to play enough.
He's available pre-draft in the Dynasty League, by the way, if any guys are interested.
Yeah, shocker.
Let's jump out real quick, and we'll come back and talk a little bit about the draft prospects.
Tell you what.
After you've listened to Warsquared and have your lineups locked in for the week, we invite you to go over and check out 3 Dogs and a Dude. It's a podcast inspired by 3 crazy rescue dogs and their dude who like having conversations with interesting people. You never know who might pop into the studio as a guest, and we guarantee some laughs. Check out 3 Dogs and a Dude wherever you get your podcasts. Indian Media Productions is your one-stop shop for all of your media creation needs. Whether it's producing a podcast like the one you're listening to, or maybe you just need some video for your social media and websites, sales and promotional videos, or even TV commercials, we've got you covered. Check us out at indianmediapro.com.
So we'll come back here, and another thing I've kind of worked together, I'm putting the top 25 draft prospects together.
This was obviously done before yesterday, wasn't it?
It was.
Because you have Jalen Carter at number 1, and that boy's dropping like a sub.
He is, with the exception of he's still really good.
Yep.
Drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot.
Remember what time?
I mean, he's. This is also purely on what I would project them to be.
For those of you who don't know,
forward.
he has been an arrest warrant has been issued for him for reckless driving.
He's already been released on bond.
Correct.
He's back at the combine right now. He is not doing any drills or anything. He was just there for medical and measurables.
And remember what Todd McShay said about him? He has character issues.
Well,
he's a young kid who made a
half
stupid
of the
mistake.
NFL players.
He's a young kid who made a stupid mistake.
Somebody's going to get a bargain here. He's going to drop a little bit, and somebody's going to get a steal. So what's going to happen?
Who's going to be the?
He's still a giant.
The Tampa Bay Hall of Fame defensive tackle who dropped like a rock. They picked up
Warren Sapp.
Yep, he's going to be Warren Sapp-esque. He's going to be a Hall of Fame defensive tackle who's going to drop into somewhere between 8 and 15 until somebody comes up and gets him who wants him.
I'm telling you right now, I guarantee you if the Bears drop back to 4, they're taking him.
I guarantee if he's there at 6, the Detroit Lions are going to go, thank you very much, we appreciate it.
Right. Because they'll put him in the program and he'll fly on the straight and narrow.
Mm-hmm. Can you imagine
he can get a Ford endorsement and learn how to drive. And
can you imagine go to Dan Campbell and say, Coach, I screwed up, and see what jet he'll DDT you.
That could be fun. Please, God, put them on Hard Knocks.
I would love to have them on Hard Knocks. I might actually watch it.
Please, God, put them on Hard Knocks this year.
They were awesome on Hard Knocks.
Number 2 on the list is Will Anderson.
Will Anderson, this is another slam dunk guy. He's going to be an awesome linebacker for 10 years in the league.
Why do you have Will Levis number 3 and not Bryce Young?
Because Bryce Young's 5'2".
Well,
I should have put the Smurfs theme song on here.
Oompa-dee-doo.
yeah, I'm not sure how much bigger Bryce Young is than Troy, but I guarantee you by the time Troy is 22 years old, he will be bigger than Bryce Young.
It's going to be interesting to see what his measurables are at the
I
combine.
saw a report that it was 5'10" and a quarter. They list him at 6, but true out 5'10" and a quarter, and that might still be with hair.
What do you think? The Texans still interested at number 2?
I mean, we just talked about a guy named Drew Brees that wasn't much bigger than that.
Yeah, but
and I don't think had the tools. I don't know if I think Bryce Young might have more tools.
Okay. I'm still thinking they trade back and fly with Davis Mills.
What I've heard, the Texans are expected to draft multiple quarterbacks in this draft.
Yeah,
Kind of like
I think C.J. Stroud's their guy.
I like C.J. Stroud, but
you know what I think about him?
man, it makes me nervous. Will Levis just has the physical.
He looks like an NFL quarterback.
Yep.
The physical stature.
When he walks in the room, you go, "That's a quarterback."
And
He's the Josh Allen of this draft.
And I'm going to go back to the Dolphins should have taken Justin Herbert instead of Tua.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take the guy who looks the part more than the guy who did better on the
Most
33rd best team in the NFL, Alabama.
Yeah, the most talented team in the NCAA. Who, by the way, if they were able to transition 4 years forward, would make the NFL playoffs as a team.
Oh, yes. If you just took all of those guys and put them on one team, they would be incredible in the NFL. Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud. Number 6 for me is Bijan Robinson. This guy is got to be as close to a can't-miss prospect.
But he's a running back. He's going to drop.
That's the kiss of death right there.
He's a running, and they're not going to spend that much money on a running back.
Oh, no. This is remember, this is a prospect list. This is how I rank these players.
I think
This is
Bijan
not
Robinson,
how the draft is going to go.
I think Bijan Robinson's ranked in the right spot. He's going to go somewhere in the mid to late 20s at best. If he's lucky, somebody might go into the late teens and pick him up.
Yeah. Now,
because you don't draft a running back that high because they cost too much money as a rookie.
You're hearing some talk from the Cowboys that they have interest.
Mm-hmm. The Cowboys supposedly have interest.
I'd have great interest if I was the Cowboys because this is your guy next year going forward.
You let Pollard go. You let Zeke go. Of course, the Bills are supposedly interested, as are supposedly the Lions at number 12.
The Bills, the Eagles. There should be a lot of teams that are looking at this guy. Number 7, Peter Skoronski from Northwestern.
His arms are too short.
I do not know how these big tackles keep coming out of Northwestern.
His arms are too short. He's going to be kicked inside to a guard probably is what everybody's saying.
Okay.
The only problem with him is his arms are like half inch too short from what they want to be for the standard prototypical left tackle. Okay, if you can play left tackle, you can play left tackle. I'll take that half an inch and
I seem to remember like Tony Baselli's arms were too short.
Well, it's kind of like Karlaftis from the Chiefs. That was the knock on him, that he was just, his arms were too short.
That motor was 100%.
Yeah. And I mean, look at the dude just performs. I mean,
he was the reason why Chris Jones was so great this year.
Sometimes you got to just take those measurables and be like, okay, that's the prototype. Now let's go watch this kid.
Right.
Sometimes you look at the kid and you go, God, he can play. We got to take him.
Yeah.
But that's the knock on him. He will either be drafted there. He's projected to be a top 10, somewhere between the first and third tackle taken out the board, depending upon team's desires.
And he got into Northwestern, for God's sakes. The three of us combined wouldn't have a combined test score to get into Northwestern.
Speak for yourself.
I'm just saying.
Speak for yourself.
I am. And you.
I'll take your word for it. Devin Witherspoon, cornerback for Illinois. This guy is a lockdown guy. Christian Gonzalez, kind of the same way. Both of these guys, I would say, are more athletic than they are cover guys. You don't try to compare guys to Sauce Gardner.
No, because
there's not one in this draft.
He's the outlier.
There's one of those. The last one of those we saw was a guy named Dion.
That's right.
There's one of those every 20 years.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So don't try to compare them to those guys. They're not those guys. Will McDonald, the fourth outside linebacker at Iowa State, another guy who can probably play for years in the league. Joey Porter Jr., cornerback out of Penn State. He played corner at Penn State. His dad was a linebacker in the NFL. I mean, this kid is going to be tougher than a $2 steak.
And they damn near look like twins. You do the math.
Anthony Richardson, the quarterback out of Florida. This is going to be the one that is the wildest.
He's going to be the one. Everybody's so hype on those big three at the top, and you watch 5 years in, this guy's going to be the one with the chip on his shoulder that everybody's like.
Name me the
Lamar Jackson.
Name me the last successful Florida quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
Oh wait.
Well, Tim Tebow did make the playoffs.
Yep, he was the last one, and that was 15 years ago.
Danny Wolfer had a pretty nice little.
I mean,
cup of
Kyle
coffee in the
Trask
league.
is getting ready to start for the Buccaneers, but we don't know what he is.
But I've seen this guy. He's been projected to go anywhere in the mock draft. I looked at anywhere from number 7 all the way back to number 28.
So I think quarterbacks are on Sunday. So if you listen to the podcast and you get a chance to watch on Sunday, you'll get to see this guy's measurables, his broad jump, vertical, all this type of stuff. Oh, this guy. I think it was the guy from Pitt, Kalijah Cansey.
Mm-hmm.
The rumor is this guy is gonna jump like 30 plus inches vertical.
Wow.
I mean,
That's a freak athlete.
yeah. So
Mike Mamalua.
yeah.
Wawam bam boom.
Zay Flowers, Boston College. He's the big prototypical wide receiver. Jackson Smith in Jigba from Ohio State.
Say that 3 times for me.
Yeah, it's too much. He's probably going to be that. He's not Marvin Harrison Jr., but he's going to be probably in that type of possession type, small body receiver that could have success. Drew Sanders, linebacker, Arkansas. There's a lot of people that are high on this guy. Paris Johnson Jr., offensive tackle for Ohio State. This is the guy. He doesn't have the production / measurables that Skoronsky did.
He's played 1 year at left tackle. The last 2 years he was at right tackle. But he had a heck of a pretty good year last year being a left tackle for the first year.
And if I remember right, he's a physical beast.
He is a wall that moves.
Right. He's not quite Orlando Brown Jr., but he's big. Michael Meyer, the tight end from Notre Dame, followed up by Dalton Kincaid, tight end Utah.
Which one of those 2 do you want?
I'd take Kincaid all day long and twice on Sunday.
Okay. So which one do you want for the commodes? Because you guys need one of those.
We'll take them both. One of them will pan out.
Okay. that's the commodes way. They took 2 quarterbacks and then they
just keep throwing shit at the wall and none of it works for them for some reason.
Yeah, and hope something sticks.
I mean, the problem is it'll knock the wall over in that stadium. So
all right.
that's where the poop comes from.
And a sewage pipe will bust.
yeah.
And yeah, we literally almost
They really should, now that they're the commodes, put like a big flusher on the side of that stadium. That would be epic. I would pay money to sponsor that. I would pay good money to sponsor that.
You would throw good money after that. Tyree Wilson, defensive end for Texas Tech. This is another guy.
And this guy is going up.
They're expecting this guy to sneak into the top 10 because you just can't find pass rushers.
And
He got a motor.
And he has been to supposedly something incredible.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about Kalijah Cansey. He's going to rise up this after the way he ran today.
Unless he's an absolute moron on the interviews.
Yeah, well, at
think
D tackle, they don't have to be rocket scientists.
Yeah, right.
As Dion said, I look for kids from single-parent homes who's hungry. Gotta feed mama.
Miles Murphy, defensive end, Clemson. I did see this guy run today too. I think he ran a 4.93 at 315 pounds, something like that.
As a former quarterback, I just cringe at that thought. God.
That's a lot of humanity coming at you.
No, thank you, sir.
Yeah, I think there were
Don't land on me.
2 300+ pounders in sub 5.
Yeah, my backs would never be going out. It would be you chip there, forget it.
We're putting one person in the thing, and that's
One man routes.
Number 22, Quentin Johnston. There's some concern about him. That he may not have the polish to work at wide receiver in the NFL.
when you're 6'3", 240 something, to run a 4.45 40.
I think they're thinking he may run sub 4.4.
If he does that, he'll be
Please let him fall.
the motor and drive issue is, I think, part of what the issue is with him.
Please let him fall. Please let him fall.
To 31.
No, the one you want is Jordan Addison, the next one on the list.
Jordan Addison.
That's the one that would be prototypical for you guys.
He's
for the Chiefs.
He's the small, fast guy.
Yeah, I mean, I'd take him too, but something about Johnston just, I like what I see on him on tape on the film.
He's big, he's raw.
He's physical. He's
the catch radius is what
this
makes.
room.
I mean, if we lose Juju, they could train this kid to be that opposite balance of Kelsey, and you've got 12-foot catch radius on both sides of the field now.
But you
catch
may
radius is this room.
need him to be the next Kelsey. I mean, he's.
And if you kick him inside to make him a
think he's
Kelsey tight end, that
230.
wouldn't be a bad thing.
We've been doing that experiment for a couple of years now with some guys, you realize.
Mm-hmm.
So
Number 24, I have Lucas Van Ness here. Now, here's a guy that they've talked about a ton today. He is not a starter. He is a situational pass rusher at the college level.
it's a platoon guy. That's a good gig if you can get it in college.
It's even better if you get him in the NFL.
No kidding.
But he is the freak size speed athlete. So it's kind of like a potential type thing. And then Emmanuel Forbes, cornerback out of Mississippi State.
Okay, let's ask you some questions. Tobin, you got the first pick in the draft, and you're the Bears. What are you doing?
I've got to think I think they saw enough with Fields this year to maintain him. I think he's going to be good enough for what they want to do. So I think you've got to look at what you can get, trade down to 3, 4, hell, even if it's 2 and some picks.
Tommy, you're the Indianapolis Colts, number 4. What do you do?
I'm trying to get to 2. What I'm thinking
Why
is
do you want 2 and not 1?
because I think Houston is going to go to 1 because they want to select their quarterback.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're going to have to give a lot to get there.
No, to trade 2 for 1, you're giving maybe another future first.
Maybe. With Houston, maybe you're giving next year's second or even a third. I mean, I don't think I just don't think it's going to be that much.
Let's assume that the Houston Texans move up to get number 1.
Yep.
You've got 2, you've got 4. What are you doing? You want a quarterback. Your quarterback's there. What are you going to pay?
To move from 4 to 2, I'm giving you next year's first and either a third or a fourth.
Is that enough?
If I'm Houston? Yeah, I think so.
Or the Bears.
So the Houston's number 1. Bears are at number 2.
Bears are at 2, then leverage that and parlay it again. Yeah, I don't think the Bears need to be any higher than 4. I think the Bears could get what they want probably at 4, 5, 6.
If I'm the Bears, I just keep popping
If you
down
can-
the board
if you
and
can stack
accumulating
multiple
more
trades.
picks.
I'm going to pick up a first by moving back. I'm going to pick up a first by moving back. I'm going to pick a second by moving back. I'm now at number 8, so I can pick the player that I want there, who is going to be a defensive player.
But now I've suddenly got 2 firsts this year or next year, 2 firsts maybe the following year. Maybe you pick up a first next year and a first in the other one.
And then I've got
In
2
2 years.
seconds this year and a
So
third
now-
extra this year.
Now you start getting some big talent at the cheaper rate, and that's how you rebuild.
That's exactly how you rebuild.
Or if you've got your eyes on multiple guys, when you get these firsts from future years, you give those to somebody else
Yes.
right now.
That's trade bait to move back up to get somebody else
Gives
that
you
you want.
draft
End up
capital to do
with-
what you want to with.
end up with 3 or 4 picks in this draft.
Yeah, it doesn't always have to be sit on it for next year.
Because I mean, if you're looking at, you go to the commodes at 16 and say, we want to give you a first next year and
A 4th this year.
a fourth this year for your 16 so we can draft the kid out of Ohio State, the tackle, Paris Johnston. The commode's probably going to go, okay.
You don't care?
Yeah. We've got pretty much guys that we know are going to play. If we can be healthy on our line, we're okay. This kid's an unknown. You know, that he's not going to be top on our list because we're going to be looking at trying to replace Payne.
Why are you going to replace Payne? You're going to get 2. You're going to get a first this year and something else
Oh,
next
because
year.
we're not gonna re-sign him to a big deal. I mean, we're just going to keep him this year. Actually, I think part of the tag is to hope somebody makes an offer for him.
Yeah,
But-
that's the bait, is to try and get some leverage out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I'm the Bears, and this is just me being a jerk, but if I'm the Bears and the Texans are the ones that want to to swap with me to go. I mean, because they had the damn pick and pissed it away.
I want your second next year and your third this year.
I'm sticking it to. There's a stupidity fee for you guys effing that up. You had it gift wrapped,
And you beat the Colts
and then you screwed the pooch
in the final game of the season.
Yeah, I mean, it was theirs. It was theirs to give away, and they gave it away. So now they're going to really have to pay the price, I think.
Okay, so next week we're not going to have a show next week, correct? We're going to take a week off since Tobin's going to be traveling, and there's not a whole lot going on that's going to be really big. So what do we want to talk about 2 weeks from now besides all the cuts and that type of stuff? Do you want to talk about trade positioning and that type of?
So 2 weeks from now, we'll be talking about the results of the combine, who's moving up draft boards, and we'll start on our free agency predictions / reports of where those will be. But because we're recording in 2 weeks, we'll be 2 days into the new league year.
Should be, yes.
It'll be interesting to see if it's a fast start this year or if it takes a little while to get going.
Well, there's a lot more cuts this year than what there were last year at this point in time. So I think the league's kind of picking up pace and moving forward.
There are going to be a lot of cuts to get under the cap.
There's going to be a lot of movement this weekend, especially, and I think between Sunday and Thursday this next week, there's going to be a lot of movement we can talk about 2 weeks from now.
Yep.
Well, and the additional cap space will be interesting to see how that comes into play too, with that higher number.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. Who's your biggest name you think you expect to get cut? Who's the surprise that you think will get cut? God, I stumped them both.
I'm gonna go with Ryan Tannehill.
Okay.
I think that they'll make a play for somebody else, like a Jimmy G, that'll save them $10 million.
You know, the first thing that came to my mind of somebody who's be surprised to be cut would be Matt Stafford. Health issues, question whether he's going to come back or not. Stafford's definitely on that list of people that you got to look at it. Is he going to be cut? Is he going to be back? That's just me throwing it out there, thinking that that's a name that unusually.
I hope the Titans trade for Jalen Ramsey.
Oh God, if they do, I might not be a fan.
Bad.
I probably won't be a fan as long as he's on their roster.
We've got this on tape now. You realize?
I'm going. If they trade for Jalen Ramsey, it's like
maybe they can pick up Marcus Peters to put on the other side too, and just have total asshole alignment.
I swear to God, if they trade for Jalen Ramsey, Doc, I will buy Doc a Jalen Ramsey Titans jersey.
I will wear it on air one time.
He will wear it. He will
can have the nameplate in front.
Office.
Yeah, I'll wear it in the office one day if they trade for him. Yes, if they trade for him, I'll wear it in the office one day.
A week.
No, just one
Whatever.
day. Just one day. One day, and that's
Friday.
it.
Well, it could be good. It could be good. All right.
Just be wrong. And with that, folks, we're out of here till 2 weeks from now.
Peace out.